Chapter 2. And in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians, and the astrologers, and the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came, and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, The thing is gone from me. If ye will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill.
Daniel 2 verse 1, In his 2nd year as king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, his mind was troubled and he could not sleep. Nebuchadnezzar II, or simply Nebuchadnezzar, was the second and greatest king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. He was the eldest son and successor of Nabopolassar, the founder of the Chaldean Empire. Historical sources posit that Nabopolassar was a high-ranking government official in Uruk, at the time, the largest city on earth. Uruk is now known as Walker in Iraq. In early 626 BC, Nabopolassar revolted against Sinsharishkun, the penultimate king of Assyria. Nabopolassar fought Sinsharishkun for control of Assyria for over 10 years, until 612 BC, when Sinsharishkun died in the Battle of Nineveh. Upon Sinsharishkun's death, Nabopolassar made Babylonia the capital of his kingdom. In the latter portions of 607 BC, Nabopolassar made his eldest son, Nebuchadnezzar, co-regent, or joint ruler, of his empire. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Daniel 1 verse 1, 606 BC, Nebuchadnezzar captured Jerusalem. Nabopolassar died in 605 BC. Within 3 weeks after his father's death, Nebuchadnezzar assumed sole reign of Babylon. Sometime between June to December 604 BC, Nebuchadnezzar captured Judah, and burnt a large swath of the city to the ground, and led many captive to Babylon. Revisiting Daniel chapter 2 verse 1, Jewish historians reckon the 2nd year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, as those 2 years wherein he reigned by himself. This puts the context of Daniel 2 at or around 603 to 602 BC. Some historians prefer the latter date, 602 BC. Verses 2 and 3, Nebuchadnezzar summoned all the magicians, enchanters, sorcerers and astrologers on his payroll. He had a dream that troubled him and he wanted to know what it meant. Verse 4, The sorcerer's lot answered the king in the Syriac tongue, O king, live forever, tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. Syriac is also known as Aramaic. Recall, Christ spoke Aramaic when he was here on earth. The sorcerers were schooled in the art of drawing out information from their subjects, and crafting answers in so ambiguous a manner that they would be equally applicable, let the event turn either way. They were con men, and Nebuchadnezzar saw through their deception. Verse 5, Nebuchadnezzar said, You know, that I cannot remember the details of the dream, but if you tell me the dream, then I'll know that you can tell me its interpretation. Additionally, if you do not tell me what my dream was, and interpret it, I will have you cut into pieces and your houses made a dunghill, a heap of dung. Verse 6, The king promises great reward and honor if both the dream and its interpretation was given. Verse 7, The sorcerers repeated the request made in verse 3. They wanted the king to tell them the dream so that they could craft a false interpretation, an ambiguous answer, for the dream. Verses 8 and 9, the king knew that they wanted time so that they could tell him misleading and wicked things. Verse 12, seeing that the sorcerers could not relay the dream and its interpretation, and most likely also being angry at the fact that he wasted money, investments, in keeping sorcerers on the books, Nebuchadnezzar commanded that all wise men in his kingdom be killed. A death sentence was also pronounced on Daniel and his friends. They were young men, in their early 20s. Verses 14 and 15, when Daniel heard of the death sentence, he approached Arioch, the captain of Nebuchadnezzar's guard, and inquired of the cause of this harsh decree. Arioch explained the incident of the king and the sorcerers. Verse 16, Daniel sought an audience with the king and asked for time that he might show the king the interpretation of the dream. Verses 17 to 23, Daniel explained the matter to his friends, Hananiah or Shadrach, Mishael or Meshach, and Azariah or Abednego. God gave Daniel the dream and its interpretation in a night vision. Daniel gave the glory due to God's name. And note, in exact proportion as Daniel's spiritual character is developed, his intellectual capabilities are increased. True knowledge and wisdom are from God alone. Verses 24 and 25, Daniel approached Arioch the captain of the king's guard so that he could get another audience with the king. He is ready to interpret the dream. Verses 31 to 35, Daniel ensured that Nebuchadnezzar knew that the God of heaven and earth was the source of the interpretation and relays the dream. In the mind's eye, one can see Nebuchadnezzar's excitement grow, as the dream comes back to him, when Daniel goes into the details. In the dream, an enormous, dazzling statue, awesome in appearance, stands before the king. The head was made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of brass or bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of baked clay. Then, a massive rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and smashed them. The rest of the statue was broken to pieces, and the wind blew away the residue without leaving a trace. The rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth. There is no need for conjecture, Daniel relays the interpretation that God gave him in the vision. Verse 38, Thou art this head of gold. Babylon is the head of gold. Verse 37, The God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. God gave Nebuchadnezzar this power. Genesis 10, Nimrod, Noah's great-grandson, formed the kingdom in the land of Shinar, which in antiquity was portions of Iraq, Kuwait, and Iran. Some 800 years later, after his father's death, Nebuchadnezzar expanded the kingdom even further, and Babylon, the head of gold, ruled the world until 539 BC. Verse 39, After you, another kingdom will rise, inferior to yours. Silver is inferior to gold. 539 BC, in the third year of Belshazzar, Cyrus made his move on Babylon and conquered it. The Greek historian Herodotus stated the Babylon's walls were 350 feet high, and in them did Belshazzar and the citizenry put their trust. But while everyone slept, Cyrus diverted the Euphrates, which Babylon channeled beneath the city. Through these channels, Cyrus led his troops and conquered Babylon, one of the wonders of the ancient world. Cyrus installed Darius in Babylon, and the Medo-Persia Empire, the chest and arms of silver, ruled the nations from 539 BC to 331 BC. Revisiting Daniel 2 verse 39, a third kingdom of brass or bronze, shall bear rule over all the earth. Brass or bronze is inferior to silver. 335 BC, Darius Codomanus ascended the Persian kingdom. Renowned historian, Humphrey Prideaux, stated that, scarcely was he, Darius, warm upon the throne, Alexander, at the head of the Greek soldiers, was preparing to dismount him from it. 331 BC, Alexander the Great defeated Darius Codomanus at the Battle of Arbela. Alexander the Great became lord of the Persian Empire and ruled the earth. Greece, the belly and thighs of brass or bronze, ruled the earth until 168 BC. Daniel 2 verse 40, And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. The monarchy of Rome conquered Greece and broke it into pieces. 168 BC, Rome conquered Macedonia in the Battle of Pydna, wherein Roman general Lucius Aemilius Paulus captured King Perseus of Greece. Perseus escaped imprisonment and Rome divided the Macedonian monarchy into 4 republics. Verses 41 to 43, The feet and toes of Nebuchadnezzar's image were a mixture of iron and clay. And as the toes were divided, so the kingdom shall be divided. The toes being a mixture of iron and clay, would be partly as strong as iron, and in other parts, it would be weak as clay and partly broken. We will expound on the feet and toes of the image in the next installment of this series. Daniel chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar's image.